This program has been made possible by a grant from the UCF Office of Research and Commercialization.
The UCF Office of Research and Commercialization is committed to moving the discoveries of our faculty and students from ideas to innovation to realization. By moving research from the laboratory to the private sector, we are helping to diversify Florida's economy and helping to bring high-paying jobs to our state. This program presents some examples of our research and our efforts to transition this research to the private sector.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ed Hyland. Today on Zenith, a look into the future of computers. We'll see the latest research being done on the next generation of hard drive. The way you store data in the future may look a lot like the plastic credit card in your wallet. We'll also boldly go in search of the Florida Space Institute and find out when 2 is better than 1, especially when it comes to talking about stars. Details are straight ahead on Zenith.
The University of Central Florida Technology Incubator, cultivating success through creative ideas, performance, and partnerships.
Because there's a lot of people doing a lot of work every day, and that's what everybody brings together. So it wouldn't be successful without the partnerships.
The UCF Technology Incubator is a university-driven community partnership providing early-stage technology companies with the enabling tools, training, and infrastructure to create financially stable, high-growth enterprises. With locations in the Central Florida Research Park, adjacent to the UCF campus in East Orlando and in downtown Orlando, the UCF-TI is home to over 50 new and innovative high-tech companies. That's up from 12 companies when the incubator opened its doors in 1999. The incubator has created hundreds of high-paying jobs in Central Florida with an average annual salary of $59,000. Our clients include SiloQuest produces process consumables used in the manufacturing of integrated circuits. The company's technology was developed in partnership with the University of Central Florida Center for Research and Education in Optics and Lasers, otherwise known as Creole. The UCF Technology Incubator, promoting optimal corporate growth and making a significant contribution to the economic development of the region's high technology sector.
When you think of plastic, I'm betting data storage isn't the first thing that comes to mind. But researchers have discovered that some types of plastic polymers can be altered by light. And that prompted the question, could data be written into plastic using light, thus creating a new kind of hard drive the size of a DVD?
For a number of years I've been interested in this kind of materials called photochromic materials. Materials you can change properties and color by shining certain wavelengths of light on. And I became aware of their possibility to be used in optical data storage, and so we have over the years developed this, this 2-photon based technique where we use long wavelength of light to penetrate deep into materials to cause changes or to excite materials. So we decided to combine the 2-photon technology with the photochromic materials to explore a data storage system. They've been exploring this for about 12 years or almost 15 years. And they've always maintained or faced one problem, and that was when after they record the data by shining light on the system and causing a change, they have to read it out by shining a wavelength of light on it. And they either cause more data to be recorded or they cause data to be erased. And they've never been able to solve that problem effectively. And basically, we feel we've solved the problem. And so we can now record data in 3 dimensions and read it out without erasing the data. And that's been a very, very significant breakthrough. This material has the ability to be able to store and read out regular images. But for the data storage, it's a bit different. What we do is we record spots basically in the material, and then we read it out and we look at the change in fluorescence as we scan across a track. And then any fluorescence that's above a certain threshold is counted as a 0, and anything below that is counted as a 1. And so the actual data storage for high-density data storage won't be in images like you've seen. It'll be more in the resolution mask where you saw the small bars or in spots. And we've demonstrated at least 10,000 cycles of reading out the data without having any detrimental effect on it. It's a plastic. It's a thermal plastic, which is very similar to the kind of plastic that's used to make common items, like you said. But it is a bit of a special plastic. It's a polymer that we've developed in our laboratory that just seems to be ideally suited to dissolve large amounts of organic compounds, organic dyes that are used for data storage. And so it's not too exotic of a material, but it is a little, it's customized. But in principle, it can be produced in large quantities. It's very durable, it's a very flexible material. We can make this data storage medium as a coating on existing DVD or CD formats. It could be put into cubes. It can even be on a flexible surface if there were a need for that. The data storage density should be about an order or 3 orders of magnitude larger than the current data storage technology. And so our target is to get to a data storage medium of at least 1 terabyte, but perhaps 10 terabytes. We're exploring, we've developed a binary system for a 2-bit recording. We're looking at 4-bit recording to double the data density. And there are other ways we can optimize to get even higher packing of data on the disk. If it were on the current size DVD, it would probably add perhaps 1 millimeter to the thickness, or even less than that, yes. There's hardware that's just about ready to be used. It's not commercial, but it's been developed. The materials need to be optimized further, and the whole system that's used, the laser system that's used for the writing and the readout, that they need to be optimized and to be made a little bit more compact, but those developments have been happening as well. So I think probably within a 3 to 5 year time period would be more reasonable for its commercial application.
The original idea for the polymer data storage was to make it a square or cube, but the DVD form was easier to adapt to available testing equipment. Up next, the quest to develop centers for excellence and how centers like this can take research from the drawing board to your community. Details straight ahead on Zenith. Our next guest has a wide range of interest, which isn't really surprising since his expertise covers the final frontier, space. Dr. Jaydeep Mukherjee is the head of the Florida Space Grant Consortium and interim director of the Florida Space Institute. Thank you so much for coming by and joining us today.
Thank you.
In my notes here, the Florida Space Grant Consortium formed in 1989 when NASA implemented the National Space Grant College and Fellowship Program. Where have we come since 1989? Catch us up here.
Long way.
Long way.
Yes. There is a space grant to every state in the nation, including District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. In Florida, we were first based at the University of Florida. It was a lead institute. Then in 2000, we moved to the University of Central Florida, and things took off. The reason it took off is because we were based at the Cape, at the Kennedy Space Center, which is the central focus of space education in the state of Florida. So we have grown leaps and bounds. We work very closely with the state government. We work very closely with the space state entity, which used to be Florida Space Authority, with the Florida Space Research Institute. My goal is to see that we leverage resources. As you know, we had a number of such institutes in the state working on space projects. my goal was to see that we all work together instead of trying to all compete for the same pie.
Now, are we able to do that? I mean, obviously, there's with many different schools, at one time, like I said, across the country, there's always that competitive factor. You know, I want to work on my project, and how do you bring the folks together from the different schools and balance all of that out?
Well, you have to find first of all a common interest between the two schools, say a common project, and then we can say that, for example, we're working with the University of Florida on a number of projects. The faculty from the University of Florida will be more responsible for the designing of the instrument, say for example. And faculty from the University of Central Florida might be doing the science behind it. So that's a way to leverage the intellectual capacity of both these universities.
Now, the Florida Space Institute is pretty much the research arm, is that correct?
Correct.
And what types of areas is the Institute getting into at this point?
At this point, what we're trying to do is to go after space missions that are driven by science, and then it's followed by engineering. And to give you an example of a project, one of my faculty recently got an award. It's called a Phase A award for $1 million to design an ultraviolet imager which would study the Earth's ionosphere. And the reason is because the sun's energy is so variable, it affects the space environment around the Earth. It affects satellites, which might drift slowly in their orbit. It causes problems with navigation and blackouts. So the first phase is to design this experiment, and after a year, if NASA likes it, it is going to be flown on a commercial satellite, and this whole project would be $46 million. It will be the first time that we are going to have a space experiment flown from a Florida university. And I'm very confident that the PI of this experiment, Dr. Richard Easties, will win the award.
Now, when we have projects that are in development like this, we have limited options where we can actually put them into use, meaning commercial satellite or commercial launches, perhaps, the space shuttle, or I guess perhaps the Russians. Is that kind of where we're at as far as where our options might go in terms of this research?
It's going to be commercial satellites right now. See, most cases in the past, NASA would build its own satellite, have all the experiments of a similar format, and launch it. It's expensive. This might be the first time that NASA might have an experiment on a commercial satellite. And if this succeeds, it's going to open doors to other researchers in the state and in the country, and maybe international, to do projects quickly. You don't have to have such a long time baseline to do it.
And one of your missions, as we were discussing earlier also, is really to make this, I guess, more generally understood, trying to get more of the public involved and really give people a better idea of what kinds of research is being done that is going to benefit them in the long run. Right.
We do it through our websites. We're trying to have websites which will address two groups of people. One will be the scientists. They would have things more in detail. The other is for the general public. And the Space Grant website, I get at least 3 or 4 emails every day saying it's a great informative website. I've learned a lot from it. And so what we try to do is to try to write everything in a very simple way so that it's understood easily by the masses. And then we have another page which the scientists can then go and get the details on the project.
Blogging, basically, about their project?
Haven't come that far.
Okay. Now, the general public sees the space missions and they see some of the experiments, but more or less on a limited basis. Are we in need of getting more exposure to the research? I mean, dollars are something that you're fighting for every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. The one advantage of working in the field of space is that it can excite young students and children. So that's one thing we should take advantage of, and we do that. So what we want to do is to try to go for more of these science missions. For example, we are working on a project with the physics department of the University of Central Florida. It's to send a spacecraft to Mars, to one of the moons of Mars, land on the moon, Deimos, scoop up some of the material, and bring it back to Earth. Now, if you just talk to someone about this project, talk to someone in the schools. They are very excited about it. The proposal has been sent to NASA. We were waiting to hear from them. If we do win it, it's a $300 million proposal. So apart from the dollars that we are going to get, the public outreach part of that project would be to see that the PI and the scientists go to the schools and talk to them about the excitement of the project and how they can help in similar projects in the future. This is where Florida is lacking. If you look at states like New York, California, Arizona, they're way ahead of us. In the past, we have been more concentrating on the launch aspect of it, but we have to get away from that. There is this commercial launch program, that's fine with KSC, that's okay. But I think the university should be involved more in space missions, which helps two ways. One is to get the dollars. Okay, by getting the dollars, we can attract better faculty, students, engineers, and industry, and that helps the space industry in Florida. And then from the public outreach part, it's a gem because kids are always excited with projects that go to the moon or go to Mars.
And certainly with the success of the Mars rovers, for example, it is in the public eye, and maybe the next step would be to go visit, as you mentioned, one of the moons.
Right.
Now, are we at a point where we're going to be able to tell the next generation that we will have a platform, if you will, to do these kinds of experiments? The shuttle fleet is getting very old. Mm-hmm. We really haven't replaced it yet. I mean, I know they've got some things in the works, but we're kind of at a crossroads, if you will, about what we're going to do for the next generation of scientists, as well as just getting out into space itself.
Oh, we know what we want to do. Okay, and we have been telling the students, whether they are high school students or undergraduate students, that we have the platform for it. Yes, there might be some time before we're able to get the proper launch vehicle to go to the moon. Then we'll worry about Mars. I'm going to give you a specific example how we have started on this years ago, from I think in 2000. For 3 years, we, the Florida Space Grant Consortium, we had a design competition where we asked students from all over the nation, undergraduate students, to design and build a model of a greenhouse that will be on Mars. So they have to design the greenhouse, build a small model, but apart from that, you have to figure out which plants to grow, what pressure, what humidity, what temperature is required. And we had 6 finalists from a number of projects around the nation. We brought them over here to Kennedy Space Center, got all the scientists and engineers from the Space Center to listen to their talks, and it was amazing. It was amazing what these kids can, I'm calling them kids, they're undergraduate students, but they come up with amazing designs. And if you're a NASA engineer or if you're a faculty, you're always trying to do everything within a box. You leave it to the students. They are going to go outside the box. We have to try to bring them in. But so we already have these designs that we have given to NASA, made by students, just undergraduate students, and that will be used in the future when we want to send humans to Mars or to the moon.
So the fresh ideas are coming up from the next generation.
Absolutely.
It's just up to NASA now, I guess, to come up with the modality to make sure that it happens.
Right.
Well, this is fascinating stuff, and the research area that you've been working on, kind of jumping here a little bit, has been binary stars.
Right.
Can you? What's new in binary stars? I guess I should ask.
Well, binary stars is really a very old field of astronomy, and I used to work. I haven't worked for the last year or so, but my work was to be more on close binary stars, stars which are so close to each other that there is a flow of gas from one star to the other. And when it does that, you have some amazing formats. You can have a star with a ring around it. You can have stars with disks around it. You can have 2 stars which are in contact and eventually form one star. So that has been my research focus, is on in this closed binary stars. What is the focus right now, which is very exciting, and where the University of Central Florida, University of Florida is playing a big role, is to search for planets on other stars like the Sun. So that's also it's a system, it's a binary system, except it's a star and planets instead of 2 stars. So we have a group at the University of Florida who have a detector, a new instrument, which I can tell you within 3 or 4 years will detect more extrasolar planets than any other group in the nation. And we have a group at the University of Central Florida who are actually working on the science behind it. And there was a professor a couple of days ago, there was an article in the Science magazine, front page. He was the first person to find a temperature difference between the day part of a planet and the night part.
Dr. Harrington, I believe.
Dr. Harrington, yes.
That's fascinating work. Kind of makes you think about the little green men and perhaps the possibility of life out there at some point being discovered. Well, thank you so much for coming by. You're going to have to come back and join us again as we continue to explore space and what's going on at the Space Institute, as well as the Florida Space Grant Consortium. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after our Research Minute. You stay right there.
We're going to be looking at, in our study, all of the nursing homes in the U.S., which is we're talking 16,000 facilities, 1 million beds, okay, and looking at just what kind of services are these folks receiving, because really we don't have a good understanding from the perspective of the whole nursing home population in the U.S. what they need. So we'll be looking at their clinical sort of issues, their well-being and quality of life, and in particular we're going to look at the quality of the mental health care and psychosocial care that they receive while they're in a facility. So what I'm looking at, for example, is how individuals that have mental illnesses, once they enter the nursing home, what can we do to help them adapt to that situation? And one of the things that they need to have access to is continuing treatment for their mental health and psychiatric kind of issues.
The goal of research is to better understand the world around us. Our goal is to be a window to that world. I'm Ed Highland. See you next time.